With Robert Doore, 2022 inductee into the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame. Robert, your personal motto, drive, desire, determination. It's carried you a long way. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm excited to be here, humbled and honored.
From Browning, Montana, Blackfeet Reservation, all the way to the NFL and the Washington Redskins. But let's talk about the journey to get there, what you had to endure, what you went through, the steps you had to take to achieve your personal goals and professional goals. Talk us through that experience from the time you were in high school to when you ultimately landed in the NFL.
You know, I think as a little Indian boy, you have dreams, you dream big, but I think the challenges that you face sometimes, the dreams are just dreams. Mm-hmm. But one thing that my parents taught me and my elders taught me was never quit, right? Keep going. Greatness is right around the corner. And so as I began to experience certain levels of success in my career, I applied everything I learned in sports and working harder than the next man or girl. And I worked real hard to achieve the greatness, but I didn't set out to achieve greatness. I just set out to make an impact, make a difference. Maybe I could inspire somebody like I was inspired by those that had went before me. So the journey was fantastic.
How did you ultimately get the opportunity to be employed by Washington, and then when you were hired to work for the Redskins organization, you oversaw a staff of 5,000 people, game day director of guest services? What did that mean?
You know, before even the dream of the NFL became real, it took a level of school of hard knocks. It took a level of training to get there. So I had to go through and earn the degrees, the experience leading up to that moment. And it was important. And the call came because of my network. So as a professional in banking, finance, in a number of different industries, in television for a brief stint, it was important to build a strong network and take advantage when the opportunity came, because your best opportunities come from your network. So I had dreams of becoming an NFL player as an athlete, but I quickly realized that the window of a professional was longer. The call came to work for the Washington Redskins as Director of Guest Experience and Operations was a dream job. 1 to 32, the highest of the high. And what I took with me was that experience, but I also took my Montana values. You treat people with respect, you pray every day, you tell people how you actually feel, you recognize good work, hard work, and you reward that. And that really magnified with the staff and the fans. My boss asked me one time, how are you going to do what you're talking about? I said, one at a time. One at a time. And that's what I took. So when I left the NFL, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of hugs, and there was a lot of thank yous. And one senior vice president told me, I'm a changed man. I'm a better man because of you, Robert Doore. You're a great man. And that's when I knew I made an impact.
This is the one question that only you can answer, because you worked at a time in Washington where they were trying to remove the nickname. It wasn't politically correct to say Redskins. You're from Blackfeet, Native American. You work for them. Daniel Snyder. You can answer that question. How did you deal with that when those issues were presenting themselves, and yet you were representing the team and the organization? And I don't think you saw it that way. Am I wrong?
My journey was firmly grounded in our Blackfeet culture, right? One of the things about Native American imagery is you got to understand where it comes from. And it was based on people of pride and all the positive characteristics. So I was hired as a professional. I was hired to take our guest experience level to the next level, right? But what they got internally was education against the ignorance. So I educated our staff. When I landed there, nobody knew what Native American Heritage Month was about. Nobody knew about what we were as people. So the man on the emblem comes from my tribe, Chief Two Guns White Cap. And to tell that story, number one, as a fan, but as also an Indian and as also a professional. It's important to teach people against the ignorance, because I think it's a great time to talk about race today. It's a great time to understand, maybe, Chris, you didn't see the world through my eyes as a man of color. And it's important to understand what we experience. So I taught internally and externally about what we as Native people. So I used the national platform to educate against the ignorance. And I used the platform to make sure that we stayed relevant, because I'm tired of us being at the table, on the menu, and I've got us a seat at the table, right? So what I did 99% of the time had nothing to do with race or Indians or any of that stuff. What I did was bring the guest experience to another level because as a qualified professional, I didn't set out to be the best Native American. I set out to be the best, right? What you got in addition to that was just a little more experience. So, it didn't matter names, logos. What it mattered was you do the right thing all the time.
Well, let's talk about that for my last question. You've transitioned now, you're CEO of your own company, Denver, Colorado. You've represented Fortune 500 companies. You provide scholarships for Blackfeet. You work for indigenous people, providing equal opportunity. All those things you're doing now are a result of what you just talked about. So was it all born out of that experience at Washington that you're able to do what you do now, the things that you took from that?
No, it goes back to the roots. It goes back to the roots because people impacted me to give back, right? And so if I ever made it to the point where I was in a position to help, how was I going to do it? I wasn't going to save the Indians all at once, one at a time. And if I can impact one kid from Montana or one Native boy or girl to reach higher in greatness, my kids are going to start 10 years further than I was because of those opportunities. So it's firmly grounded from where I come from. I never lost my roots, but it behooves me to really turn back and give a hand up, not a handout, right? So I'm in a position now in my life and my career to really help others if they want to get into the league, if they want to reach for a career maybe in consulting. So using my network, again, is gold. And I'm going to do whatever I can to help others get a hand up. I don't care what color you are. If you're willing to put in the time and never quit, dream big, never quit, I'm there for you.
All right, Robert Doore, 2022 inductee into the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame.